Good afternoon. Good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon, White Plains. Good afternoon, everybody. I am sorry for the 15-minute delay. I had another meeting that ran a little bit long, but thanks so much for taking time to drop in, either right now live, or maybe you're watching later on when it's a little bit more convenient for you. But either way, thanks for taking some time out of your day today for our check-in. Today is our COVID-19 community update and Q&A. Folks had the opportunity to send questions in advance. We have a stack of questions here that I'm going to get to, and as always, if I can and if time allows, if I'm able to and if time allows, I'm happy to answer any questions that are in the comments section and go from there. But again, thanks very much for spending some time this afternoon, and also big week, exciting week. It's Teacher Appreciation Week. And every week should be Teacher Appreciation Week, and we just wanted to express our thanks and our gratitude to all of our teachers and support staff members, and all of our teachers, even outside of the traditional classroom, folks who impact our lives positively, and that we can count among those who help us grow. And of course, moms, your day's on Sunday, so happy Mother's Day to all of our White Plains City School District moms, and of course, moms are our teachers as well. So big week, exciting week, and boy, what a year, what a difference a year makes compared to where we are today to where we were last May. So good news, positive news, not without challenges, but definitely moving every day moving in the right direction. So happy Mother's Day, happy Teacher Appreciation Week. Next Wednesday, don't forget, is National School Nurse Day. Big day, of course, for us here in the White Plains City School District. Lots to celebrate. Making good progress in Westchester County as we are in terms of the active cases of COVID-19. This week, for the first time, and I can't even remember how long, we had 2 full days without an identified case of COVID-19 in our school district, which was fantastic. The numbers of identified cases are decreasing, but we still have to remain vigilant, and those numbers are going down because of the collective vigilance that we've been doing here in our community for so long. So thanks to everybody for all of your hard work and everything that you're doing to keep COVID out of our schools and help us to minimize disruptions to the extent that we're able to. Really, really grateful for that. Next year, we're planning for a traditional academic year. We know that we have to wait for guidance from the New York State Education Department and guidance from the state of New York with regard to the pandemic. But as we're planning for September, we are planning for a typical September. So that means as you're setting your plans in place, you can also be planning for a typical September. All of our children back in, 5 full days a week, all of those things. This is what we're planning for next September. Will COVID-19 be totally gone? Probably not, but will we need to still be sort of in this emergency order era where we have these health safety guidelines? Maybe. And so we're going to have to wait and see, but in terms of our planning, we are planning for a typical school year. Does that mean that we won't have to wear masks? Probably not. There probably will be a requirement for facial coverings. At least that's my guess at the moment. But other restrictions are likely to go away and be loosened as we continue to progress through the summer months. Will remote instruction be available if I want it? I would say right now, plan that it will not be. I would say plan that remote instruction, unless we're in an emergent situation, will not be available. Now, I don't know that to be an absolute fact, but in terms of trying to plan ahead and trying to think ahead, I would encourage folks to think about next academic year as a more traditional, typical academic year. More will come out, and I'll be sure to communicate everything with you as soon as I know it. But I just wanted to kind of put that out there as we are in mid-May now, and folks are thinking about the summer and they're thinking about the fall and the next academic year. And we'll make sure that we keep giving you those updates and give you all the information that we know as soon as we know it. Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon. All right, great to see so many people jumping in. Thank you very much for joining us. End of the year activities. Now, you don't need to take notes. You're going to get all this information from your child's schools, but I do want to focus really quickly on the high school commencement and the Highlands Moving Up ceremony, which will both be taking place outdoors at Laux Field. There are health safety requirements that we have to follow. This is not the school district making a determination about which guidelines we're going to follow and which we're not. If we want to have an in-person graduation and moving up ceremony and a graduation ceremony, we have to follow these guidelines. You will get all of the guidelines, you'll be able to review them, but the one piece that I want to go over with you now is related to entry into the venue. Folks who are coming in, right, the guests of our graduates and our graduates themselves will have to do one of two things. They're going to have to produce the results of a negative COVID-19 test prior to entry into the event, or present verification of complete vaccination. So those are two things that folks have to consider right now. Why? Because PCR test or a rapid test on the day of or 3 days before graduation can have a very different outcome than having vaccination and being a completely vaccinated against COVID-19. Now, certainly we hope that everybody's healthy and there's no issues at all with entry. But if you are going to rely on testing, there is always the chance that that test could come back positive. And if that test comes back positive, that means those individuals would not be able to enter physically into the commencement or moving up ceremonies. We're still going to have all of the events live streamed for everybody to be able to participate and watch remotely. But that's not the same thing as being there in person, and we recognize that. That's why we want to keep reminding folks that if you are willing and able to be vaccinated and you're planning on participating in end-of-the-year activities, vaccination may be something you want to explore right now. You have enough time between today and those events at the end of June to be fully vaccinated, and then need only show proof of vaccination upon entry into the events. We'll keep reminding people about this. We'll keep reminding the community about these options, but we want to make sure that we're really clear. This is not the school district's decision. It's not one that we can, change or be flexible with. This is the cost of doing business if you want to have an in-person celebratory event. If guidelines change, guidelines will change. But as they stand right now, negative test or completely vaccinated are the two ways that attendees will have, the two options attendees will have prior to going into events. So, and again, we'll continue to remind everybody, and you will get all of that information from your child's school as well. But wanted to put that out there, just make sure that you remember. Also wanted to remind you, coming up on the 18th of May, very, very important, school district budget election, Board of Education election. Now, all of the budget information is available to you on the district's website, and we really tried to break it down and make it manageable and try to answer any questions you could possibly have right there at your fingertips on the website. We also recorded a very short budget presentation for you to be able to listen to. And then, of course, you could ask questions later on. You can always reach out to us. All of those items are available on the district's website in the All About the Budget session. I really need to impress upon you how important it is to participate in the voting process on Tuesday, May 18th, between the hours of 12 p.m. and 9 p.m. at your local polling place, your assigned polling place, or through absentee ballot, which you still have time to request. We really need to have all of our educational community members engaged in this process. It is so important. This year's budget, as you know, is coming in way below the property tax cap limit, which is 3.88%. This year's proposed budget is 1.23%, and it supports every single program, everything that our children have available to them into the next academic year, and sets us up to be in solid financial position into the following years as well. So it's a very strong budget. It's a very conservative budget in terms of a recognition of how difficult the last fiscal year has been. We wanted to keep the tax levy, the average tax levy, as low as possible. So this budget is about a $13 increase on the average assessed home per month. Very, very conservative, but at the same time, supports all of our children's programming. So if you have questions, please reach out. All that information is available on the website, but most importantly, please participate in the process on Tuesday, May 18th. Thank you. All right. Going to be going to our questions and answers, and I just want to also thank everybody and say good afternoon to everybody. Hi, Anne-Marie, Sylvia, Cheryl, hi everybody. It is really great to have you all here. Thank you so much for jumping in. You know that you are doing okay and moving through the pandemic when questions and answers start to transition from pandemic-related questions or operations-related questions to more general questions, which is great. We also see far fewer questions coming in, which I hope is a reflection in that you have all the information you need, or you know where to get it if you need it. So that's good too. But I will go through the questions that we have, and then I'll go back into the comment section to see if there's any that I might have missed. First question of the day. When will schools resume saying the Pledge of Allegiance? We say the Pledge of Allegiance every day in our schools, in our classrooms. We've switched it up a little bit in some cases where we don't have whole school Pledge of Allegiance at the same exact time, but we do have the pledge every day. In fact, I participated at Church Street in the Pledge of Allegiance one day this week during an event. So good news there, the Pledge of Allegiance is being said every day in our schools. This questioner wrote in with several really large questions, which I'm not going to read them to you, I've tried to distill out the actual questions and I'll address them as best I can. If I don't hit the mark, feel free to reach out to me and I'll try and do a better job. Can children be permitted to Zoom in on Wednesdays if they're not attending because of a transportation or childcare situation at home? Unfortunately, no. We need to make sure that if children are at home in remote learning settings, they're remote learning. But if they're coming to school, if they're scheduled to be in school in person, that they come in school in person. If there's an emergent situation over the next 6 or so weeks, definitely reach out to your child's teacher. But we're unable to flip back and forth and be able to serve our children in the best form fashion on those Wednesdays. And I do recognize that half-day piece is still challenging for some families, and I apologize for that. Do we see masking still being in effect in September? I don't know for sure. I think so, though. But even if, let's say, there is no mask requirement from guidance, parents and guardians and children can still make decisions related to whether or not they want to wear a facial covering because it makes them feel safer. I know a lot of people have talked to me about the number of regular, typical illnesses that folks may have faced throughout the academic year that they didn't get this year. Certainly facial coverings will be an option for folks who want to continue to wear them. I don't know if they'll still be required in September. I'm thinking they probably will. This question says, there's a lot of talk on the news, a lot of school districts trying to implement critical race theory in school curriculum. And it goes on, there's a lot of sort of qualification in there. So critical race theory is a theory that was developed, I think, in the 1970s, and it's really more of an academic type sociological, biopsychosocial discussion that typically takes place in the college level. Let me handle this question in a couple of ways. Number one, our school district there's no critical race theory as part of the New York State curriculum. Okay, and school districts follow the New York State curriculum. Now, school districts also incorporate, or I shouldn't say school districts, I should say teachers. We incorporate all kinds of different things from the world and teach children about them, right? There's a difference in teaching about a topic versus teaching the topic, right? And that's a really important distinction to make. So if a child comes into a classroom, I'm a history teacher, right? If a child comes into my classroom and says, hey, Joe, can you tell me a little bit about critical race theory? Okay, I would talk to that child about what critical race theory is. I would also allow the child to explore all sides of that theory and that conversation. And I would encourage the child to dig deeper if this is an area that interests them. That's not indoctrinating or teaching a specific thing as this is the fact. It's exposing children to various outlooks and various views. Now, I recognize there might be somebody watching right now that says, well, critical race theory is a fact. That's great. There might be somebody watching right now that says, absolutely not, I don't believe in it. That's great too. That's the beautiful thing about schools. Schools should be, in their purest sense, an open marketplace or a free marketplace of ideas, and a place where human beings can explore all different types of theories, hypotheses, scientific facts, scientific thoughts, and everything in between, right? What we want to do is we want to make sure that our schools, in an effort to create the best and most engaged society that is always seeking to achieve the American dream, is open them up to as many different learning experiences as possible. So, no, critical race theory is not a subject or a curricular strand that we teach, but we absolutely do teach all about all sorts of theories, and we teach about all sorts of sociological issues as well. Lots of current events going on with these buzzwords, I recognize that. Happy to talk to you in more detail if you'd like to about anything related therein. It's similar to religion. We teach about religions in schools. We don't teach religion in public schools. It's the same sort of thing. So, you know, I do appreciate the question, and I do understand why it's out there, and happy to talk more about it if we need to. Next question. Transgender athletes being able to compete in sporting competitions. And the questioner goes on to in a lot of detail as to what they believe should be and you know what the concerns are. Here's what I'm going to say about transgender sporting competition. We in the schools don't label children with their gender. You, parents and guardians, and our children, tell us what their gender is. Okay? We don't ask. It doesn't matter to me. Now, I remember I had a conversation with somebody who was asking about, you know, gender-specific bathrooms versus gender-less restrooms. I'm sorry. You know, my job is to support the human beings that come into these buildings every single day, make sure they're safe and supported, and that they have access to engaging opportunities for learning and personal growth. That's what we do. So in terms of transgender athletes participating in sporting events, there are guidelines that you can read from the New York State Education Department from 2015. It's not a new conversation in the state of New York at all, but it's also important to remember that we don't ask what gender the humans in our facilities identify as. If children come to us and they'd like to talk about things that are going on in their world and in their personal lives, they want to talk to their counselors, they want to talk to their teacher, we try to make sure that we're bridging that conversation with the home and being as supportive as possible. But that's not our role. So in terms of athletes and sporting competitions, we will always follow the guidance, we will always follow the law, we'll make sure that every one of our children is supported as appropriately as we possibly can in all instances. Thank you for your questions. Big questions. For Friday's update, could you comment on the quarantine rules? When can we expect them to change? I know many school districts are no longer quarantining full classes at a time. Thanks for your question. School districts, doesn't matter if it's White Plains or anywhere else, all must follow the guidelines through the Westchester County Department of Health, which come down from the State of New York Department of Health. There can be no abrogation. When a classroom is completely quarantined or isolated, that's done in conjunction with the Department of Health. If portions of that class are then later released because of contact tracing being completed, that's wonderful. However, if a school district is choosing on its own without working with the Department of Health, it's not following the guidance. So it's not up to us when that loosens or when that changes. That all comes from state, comes through county, and then we work with the county to do as little disruption as possible. That's why we're using things like QR codes in our schools to identify where children are sitting, or making sure we have seating charts and keeping contact minimal at where we can, so that if and when a case of COVID-19 does pop up, the disruption to the entire classroom environment or even grade level environment or building environment is as minimal as possible. So I really do appreciate that question. It's an important one because folks should understand that the only quarantine only comes with the approval from County Department of Health. Great questions. Okay, next one. Will we be doing a drive-up ceremony to protect the health and welfare of students and their families? Oh, this is related to 8th grade moving up. I do not believe there's a drive-up 8th grade ceremony. I could be wrong. Probably want to circle up and connect with Mr. Spatafor. But for the moving up ceremony at Highlands, for children who cannot or unable to, for a variety of reasons, participate in person, they will absolutely be recognized, even if whether they're there or not. And they do have the ability to participate via the live stream. But I would definitely suggest, if that's what's happening with your little one, connecting with the principal, and I'm sure they'll be able to work with you on ways that we can make sure that the child feels engaged and celebrated on that day as well. And then there's a follow-up. If the district is doing an in-person moving up, will there be a virtual? Yes, there is. It'll be live stream for the children who cannot attend. And they will be recognized photo and all that, even if you're not in attendance. Thanks for your question. Next question is there a mask policy for district employees when they're in the halls or around students? And can the district ensure that staff will not be spreading COVID? There's a lot more in here that's not question related, but essentially the child indicated to the parent or guardian that they noticed teachers and or support staff members not wearing masks in school. So there are two parts to this. One, everyone should be wearing masks at all times in school. So please feel free to reach out to me if I can be helpful in a more targeted approach. So the answer to your question is yes, we should all be wearing masks when we're in the facilities, unless of course we're eating or outside and very far apart. And can the district ensure that staff will not be spreading COVID? So we're doing our very best. I think thus far we've not had any identified spread permeating within our facilities, at least that we've been able to identify. But I think to the point, the health and safety standards that we're expecting our children to follow, we're following them too. So again, if we can help and firm that up in any way, feel free to reach out. Thank you for your question. And believe it or not, I am up to the last question, and then I will get right into the comments and see if there's anything in there for you. Can you please clarify the daily health screener? And there's a lot here, but I'll sort of distill it down. My child deals with seasonal allergies, and boy, absolutely, I completely understand and empathize with this situation, especially over the last couple of weeks. The questioner is asking, if my child has a runny nose, but I know it's seasonal allergies, do I have to send the child home, or can I send my child to school? We want you to be able to send your child to school. So connect with your child's school nurse and have that conversation. The nurses will be able to assist there. And then when you're filling out that screener, you don't have to worry that you have this stuffy nose or the itchy eyes or anything like that, and then having to stay home. So I appreciate you asking that question, because yes, if you suffer from seasonal allergies like I do, we still want you to be able to be in school as long as we know that it's seasonal allergies and not God forbid, COVID-19. Thank you for those questions. I am going to now go into the comment section, like the old days, and see what we have in there and do my best to answer any of your questions. Yes, in-person ceremonies. It's good news, right? Lots of comments. Thank you for your comment. Oh, thank you, Mrs. Torres. Mrs. Torres came with questions. If for any reason the state makes us offer remote in September, will the district then be considering having a remote-only teacher instead of hybrid classes? So, thank you for your question. This is first of all, it's important for me to say one thing. I don't want to do what I see some other folks do and come out and make a proclamation without having worked collaboratively with all of the folks in our school district. So I'm not going to say with absolute certainty, this is what we're going to do. Here's what I can tell you I'm thinking, and then we would work with our reopening committee. I do not think it would be feasible to continue in the same fashion that we've continued this year. This has been an extraordinary year, and it's required a great deal of additional effort, and really Herculean effort from so many folks. And I don't think it's feasible to think that that's sustainable over a longer period of time than we've already been in it, that being the hybrid at the same time. I would be recommending and looking and suggesting that we have a different form for the remote, if it was required, the remote experience for students. Again, we'll have to have that conversation with our stakeholders, our partners here in the district, as well as our reopening committee. I don't really foresee that being on the horizon necessarily, and we have to be ready to pivot and shift to remote instruction like we've done this year, if in fact we deal with a pandemic or pandemic-related issue or emergency in the future. So the short answer to your question is, I don't think so, but we would still need to work with our partners to come out with that new plan, depending upon what the state's guidance is. Thanks for the question. Do children also need a negative test to be allowed to the 8th grade graduation? Yes, everybody. So anyone participating in person in that needs to go through and have it be screened. I understand children are exempt from certain regents this year. Are there any negative impacts if my child chooses to take it? If the child does not take it, will they still get credit? Will the grade be listed? So great question. There is absolutely no negative impact to taking the regents this year or not taking it this year. It really is a decision that you are making as a family with your child, or in consultation with your child's teacher, however you feel most comfortable. But there is no negative consequences associated with either taking it or not taking it. Now, you take it, and you're gonna get a sense of where you are with regard to that test. But you don't take it, you still have the grade, and the grade in the class is really what we're going to be looking at this year. So if you have any more detailed questions or anything a little bit more nuanced than that, definitely recommend reaching out to your child's teacher or guidance counselor for assistance. I heard a rumor that the plans for elementary recess are changing to allow classes to mix. Is that true? Well, rumor. Thank you for your question. So the classes will eventually mix, but they will mix when we're not in the cohort model right now. You could definitely feel free to reach out to your building level team or your child's teachers if you want to have a little bit more insight into when and if that may be happening in the future, but the guidelines haven't changed right now. So we're going to be staying in the pattern that we are until those guidelines do change. But thank you very much for your question. Do students still need to stay home after traveling? If so, for how long, and does the destination matter? Thanks for your question as well. The destination matters. In some cases, it doesn't matter. In others, the best answer to your question, because travel is going to be unique and it's going to be different, is to go directly to the State of New York Department of Health website. There is a link devoted, or an entire page devoted directly to travel and what the requirements for New Yorkers are before they leave and after they return home from travel, either domestic or international. Thanks for your question. All right, going back in here, and I think Liza maybe got them all already. Yeah, a lot of questions about whether or not students need to be tested before graduation and so on and so forth. And those are great questions, because back to that initial point that I made, vaccinated people don't need to deal with tests. Vaccinated people show their proof of vaccination. Maybe you have the Excelsior Pass that you can download off of the App Store or the Google Play list. Has your proof of vaccination right in there that you're able to show. If you don't, you have the option of getting a PCR test up to 72 hours prior to the event and showing those negative results. And certainly, there are rapid tests, but they're less accurate. And you could be dealing with the possibility of a false positive. Don't like to think about that, but that's a possibility. So, other than the vaccination piece, which still, is not for everyone, which I absolutely understand, the testing piece is something that is a little bit of, you're taking a chance there a little bit. Thank you, everybody. We answered all the questions. So again, I'll be back. I'll be back in again to do Q&As, give you updates. Please make sure you're checking out the reopening committee meetings at your convenience. They're on the district's website as well, keeping a pulse of all the things that are happening, and we'll be sure to communicate all of the upcoming events with you so that if you have any questions, you can get them answered. As always, feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions. Again, very important, Tuesday, May 18th, District Board of Education and Budget Election, 12 p.m. to 9 p.m. You can vote if you sign up for an absentee ballot. You can vote using absentee ballot, or you can vote in person at your designated polling site. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Thank you so much. Thanks for everything that you've been doing. Thanks for everything you are doing. Stay strong. Stay WP proud. And again, to all of our White Plains City School District and White Plains moms, happy Mother's Day. We hope you have a great day. Enjoy it, and we'll see you soon. Take care, everybody. Thank you.